All right, what is up? Welcome back to our third review of all time, even if the first one is not anywhere that anyone can view or listen to it. This week, Peter and I are going to be talking about Firewatch, the unanimously selected game of the month for December. Uh, Normally, we would have nominated some other games and gone through a rigorous process of deciding which we were going to play, but this week,
We've
all the
gone through
nominees
a
were Firewatch.
rigorous process.
It was really miraculous. I don't know how it happened.
We have our whole next month planned out too, and we also did not use the
Yeah,
rigorous
we'll get to that
process.
at the end because the next month is an exciting twist on a familiar recipe. But we haven't talked about this at all. I have no idea what Peter thinks about this game. He knows I
As
was.
opposed to the last game where we like trickle truth information at each other over 2 months.
Yeah, it turns out a 35-hour game takes a little longer to get through than a
A
3 hour.
game, a game that made us both so mad that we could not resist spamming little comments about it, little snarky jabs at it. At least I couldn't.
Yeah, I know. You were.
Everybody knows how we feel about that game now, though.
Yeah,
Apparently, we're
everybody,
really
and
hard on it.
everyone who could possibly give a shit now
All the
knows.
two people that I talked to.
Hey, that video has like 38 views somehow.
Is it really?
Yeah.
38
I don't
views?
know where
Man.
from. We either have a lot of friends or like your mom is just watching it every day.
My mom watched our last video and she was like, "So I liked the video game at the beginning, and then you and Patrick talked for 2 hours after that."
Yeah, well, I hate to break it to her, but there's going to be zero video game in this one. Unless someone decides to make an anime adaptation of Firewatch in the next like
I would watch
45
it.
minutes. I would watch
It
the
would be
shit out of that.
definitely like a slice of life romance kind of thing, and not Advent Children though.
Yeah, it would actually probably work better for me, which I'll get into once we start talking about it. But I guess before we dive into category number one, which is always story, I
Is
want to
that a
get
new category?
story.
Yeah.
No, that was the first thing we talked about for Final Fantasy. That was all we
I
talked
remember
about
that.
for like an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
somehow in that hour and a half, we didn't mention once that Aerith is the descendant of the ancients, which is
Right.
like arguably important, maybe not to
Well,
that
that's
game.
last month's news
Yeah,
anyway.
I know.
According to Firewatch.
I was like up at 2 a.m. in the morning being like, I did a whole bit about how there's no spoilers for the game and we didn't talk about literal only spoiler for the game. So,
2 a.m. in the morning. The last thing I'll say about Final Fantasy is that I'm amazed that you have not gone this long without hitting the major spoiler around Final Fantasy, and I'm amazed that nobody like rolled up into the comments and spoiled it for you. It's like
yeah.
the definition of a spoiler for fiction.
I have no idea what it is. So if they ever release remake part 2 and I feel like
There's
playing
no
another 40
remake
hours of
now.
that or I'll die and have no idea.
Now that you like have played Final Fantasy, I feel like you might catch a sly reference somewhere in the next 2 years or whatever before they make
Yeah,
it.
it's possible it's gone over my head, but I know nothing about any other Final Fantasies, and I knew nothing about this one, and now I will
Anyway,
forget it all.
friendship ended with Final Fantasy
Yeah,
VII.
yeah. Let's start our.
Firewatch is our new best friend.
Is it? Is it your new best friend? Let's start with some overall thoughts before we dive in. Did you have fun? Did you like this game? Were
I
you
like the game.
were you excited for this game? Like, had it been on
Yeah,
your
I was.
radar?
I've seen a lot of people talk about it, play it. My brothers have told me about it. I've seen screenshots that look really pretty. There's like a
Backgrounds
lot
for
of
every
backgrounds.
every
Yeah,
battle station on Reddit.
exactly. And so yeah, I was excited. I didn't know anything about it, and the name is cool, so I was excited
The
to
name is cool.
review.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't. When did this game came out in like
2016. Yeah,
2016? Yeah,
look
I
at a little background info.
thank you because I've wanted to play it literally since it came out, and I think I managed to play it on the worst platform in all. Like, I had
Oh,
four
really?
years to beat this game, and I picked
You play on
Switch.
Switch?
No, I liked having it portable, and I we don't really have a category for performance, but the game ran like shit, and I think it.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
wow.
like
I'm on here on my PC cranked up to mega ultra
yeah.
fucking
So
my
I
head like lights all off and everything. I was like,
I definitely lost out a bit on like the beauty of the world and
oh, what a shame.
yeah.
Like,
What is this game about? Like the environment?
I
I'm
hate to.
yeah,
That sucks.
Yeah, I might have to replay it. I mean, it was fast, and there's enough. I feel like there are enough dialogue choices that maybe playing through it again will be worth it. But I want to get
No,
you. We're gonna run through some of the choices you made in the beginning of the game because they didn't
I
really.
don't remember. Are there
You don't
choices?
remember? Oh, I'll go over them because
Well,
I
I
like.
remember I remember making choices. I
You
think I
sent me a
have.
screenshot of the choices. You like the whole segment where you're like going through the backstory and meeting your wife. Um,
I can't be held accountable for what I Snapchat.
so my expectations going in were high, is what I will say, because I wanted to play this game for 4 years and I've heard nothing but really good games, and somehow I hadn't had it spoiled for me at all. I had, like, didn't know if this was going to be a spooky ghost adventure, or I guess I anticipated it being more of what it actually ended up being, but still had no clue. And I don't want to
it
go.
sort of ended up being a spooky ghost adventure.
Yeah, kind of.
That's one
Kind
unique
of.
thing, you know.
Kind of. I won't go too much into my broader thoughts because I can't really dive into anything without discussing why I was a little let down. But so let's just dive straight into the story. Um, this is obviously going to be a spoilery discussion. Um,
Yeah.
so let's start at the beginning. We play as Henry, Hank, as he is affectionately known. Um, and the first, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes are like dialogue choices you make before setting off on your adventure in the camp to kind of give you background on where you are in life, what has happened to you in life. And you meet your wife, Julia, or Julie. I think it's Julia.
Yeah.
She's Australian. She seems cool and all. Y'all go through some turmoil. She gets sick and eventually has Alzheimer's, and the reason you go to the park to work in the first place is kind of to escape the pain of that. And I want to know, A, which type of dog did you pick? The Beagle, or what was the other one? A Great Dane? I don't remember. Julia
German
loved
Shepherd.
German Shepherd. Julia loved the Beagle, so I obviously picked it.
I was about to say I didn't think there was anyone on Earth that didn't pick the German Shepherd, but shows why I'm not. Who the fuck picks a beagle over a German Shepherd?
It's like the description is like, you can pick this beagle, which your girlfriend adores and wants more than anything, or you can pick this
This?
German Shepherd that looks like it could kill someone. It's like,
I don't remember it being that. I guess I remember something indicating one direction, but I was like, she'll love this dog too. And then
did
she
she?
did after
She
I
did
met.
she?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's crazy about it.
All right. That was a really important life path decision number one that I wanted to ask you about.
I just like I get all right, Julia. I get that you love this dog, but sorry, it's just
Wait,
nobody's
all right.
seen a beagle before.
At one point in this recap, you get like mugged. Did the German Shepherd like come out of the woodwork and eat
No,
the mugger?
I beat the fuck out of the guy
You
myself.
beat out of
German
him?
Shepherd cheered me on while I was
I
doing it.
used my like big brain to talk my way out of it and diffuse the situation.
Wow,
Yeah. Well,
pretty good.
anyways, I
The
think
high road, Mister over here.
yeah, okay. I think the next big decision then Julia gets offered a job across the country because we live in Colorado or Montana.
I definitely
We live
forgot
in
which one.
Colorado. We live
We
in
live in
Bolt.
Wyoming. The park is in Wyoming, and we lived in Colorado.
Yeah, we lived in Boulder, I think.
Yes.
She got offered a job in like Massachusetts.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you tell her to take it?
And then it's like long. Yeah, I told her to take it, and then she flew back every.
Yeah, yeah,
She
okay.
was in Denver or whatever.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't fly out. It
yeah.
doesn't even give you that as an option.
No, agree. Yeah, it was like either tell her not to take it or tell her to take it and travel. I didn't
And
enjoy
she
that.
goes back and forth the entire
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So we're on the same page there, but unfortunately Julia it's afflicted with early onset dementia or Alzheimer's,
Yes.
and you're faced with a difficult decision where you can either ship her off to a, a full.
Australia.
Well,
Which
I
is
get.
what Australia is for historically.
Yeah, I guess that is what happens because it kind of presents it as like a facility that is actually equipped to handle what is happening to her,
Funny joke.
or you can choose to stay at home and take care of her. What did you pick?
Uh,
You
I
don't.
think I picked to keep her with her sister. I'm pretty sure it routes you to abandoning her no matter what you choose. So
Well, yeah, no, I shipped her off to the facility because I was like, I'm not equipped to handle this. And what's weird, and this is kind of an intro into my biggest gripe with the game, is like, I'm playing as Henry, and from someone who's like outside of the situation, it's easy to
Yeah.
diagnose that obviously we should send this person who's suffering serious brain disease to a facility where they can take care of her all the time and
Yeah.
like better her
This
life.
is the biggest thing about the game. Like we could talk about just this for 2 hours, and this is honestly kind of the whole game, if you ask me. Like the crux of it is, was Henry right to do what he did?
Right, but then in like personally, of course, if my wife was suffering from dementia, I would want to take care of her, right? Like that is what
You
a
watch this one on YouTube?
yeah. Oh, I do.
Does
And
she watch these?
I don't think she has any of our 38 views, but that's okay. I still love her. But that's kind of my biggest issue, right? Like I would want to take care of my wife, but I have no connection to these people, so I'm doing the logical decision and it kind of disconnected me from Henry a little bit and I
Mm-hmm.
throughout the
Yeah.
game
The
kind of
game,
felt huh?
the game doesn't give you a choice, right? It forces you to abandon your wife and start working as a fire lookout in Shoshone Forest in Wyoming.
Right. So why give me any of the dialogue options at all?
Yeah.
And like I wanted it to just be like, here's this tragic story, and we're gonna tell it to you, and you're gonna assume the position of one of the characters in it. But I felt like I ended up split between role playing and living his story, and it didn't meld especially well for me because,
I honestly, sorry, go ahead.
well, based on your decisions, like comments come up later throughout the game where it's like Julia's family doesn't like you because you shipped her off to a facility to take care of her, or Delilah's trying to make you not feel
I believe
guilty.
she's living with her family in Australia. I believe is what
That
happens.
is not the option I chose. So if that's what ended up happening, then like
Oh,
it's like
maybe
ship
they
her
just
off
didn't intend it.
ship her off to this facility, but really by facility they mean someone else, some other family. It's like that's not exactly what I had in mind.
I never. You asked me about these choices, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll answer about my choices, and I kind of don't remember them honestly because I was too preoccupied. Like, I guess I never felt like I had a choice, and
Okay.
I sort of didn't mind it. I don't know. I never really was very preoccupied with, like how my choices affected the narrative because it did seem like the narrative was decided for me, and I accepted that pretty early on that this game is much more like a novel, like being told to you, and you embody the a different person who, like, not you, who you did not choose, and that occupies a weird space for a video game, right? Like, how much is the player a proxy for you, and how much are they a character with their own autonomy?
Right.
Um,
And I guess for me it felt more like it was trying to do both. And
I see.
maybe that's just because I feel weird about what Henry did. But let's recap what actually fucking happened so people aren't like, why are you feeling all these feelings about this 15-minute prologue where you make some decisions? So we ship Julia off. We move to Wyoming to go work at a national park as a fire watcher. I don't know if that like what is the official title?
Look out.
A lookout. And we are isolated in a tower. The only communication we have is through a radio to our girl Delilah, who is working in a different lookout and can see us. We can't see her, and that is a prevailing theme of the game. um, but
Yeah.
during our time in this park, we have a couple adventures. We check on a couple of fires. But as we go along, we learn that someone or something is listening in on our pretty personal conversations with Delilah because she does make some advances, or at least one advance.
Reciprocated advances.
I did not reciprocate them, which is part of the whole like RPG versus am I learned like is this Henry or
Uh,
is this me? And
yeah, I get what you're saying. I did get this ambiguity where I'm like, all right, how
yeah,
much? So if Delilah is sliding my DMs, you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you, but you lag spiked there a little bit. But keep
Oh, that's
going.
not good. Well, I was saying when Delilah like slides in your DMs or whatever, and you get three options like yes, no, maybe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to tell how much of them really affect the path of the story.
Well, I doubt they do, but it's
Yeah,
a strange thing to even offer. And maybe
I
they're
think
like,
there's
haha,
also
look at this fake illusion of choice you have. You're really in this sad tale we're
what I
telling.
ended up doing which I kind of liked, I guess, is answering how I thought Henry would answer based on his actions so far, and not how I would answer them. Um,
Sure.
so yeah, I was flirty with Delilah, but I think we're derailing again.
You
What
you
happens?
slut. You slut. Okay. Someone's listening into our calls. They are personal. It feels invasive. We do some investigative work. We find like a research camp set up within the park that Delilah is able to dig up some paper on, and supposedly it's through a university. Henry breaks in and finds these weird profiles of himself and of Delilah, where they're kind of like cataloging our personality traits and our physical traits. So clearly, they're very interested in us, and it's not abundantly clear why. Um, we're offered a choice to set the whole place on fire. Did you?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Seemed counterintuitive to the reason we were there. Um, but while this story is progressing, Delilah is also kind of telling us her tragic backstory about a father son pair who had gone missing in the park, and she had gotten close with the boy and was worried about him because the father was distant and cold. And they just kind of disappeared without telling anyone, and she wasn't sure if they made it home or what had happened to them, or if the father just kind of absconded with the child. And Henry's kind of playing the part of comforting her and telling her that everything is almost certainly fine. Um, I guess in that park or park camp that we found the profiles of ourselves, we get a tracker that
Yeah, that
beeps.
tracker, a
Yeah,
wave detector. I don't remember what it was.
yeah. It basically
It
lets
beeps
you,
when you're
yeah, lets you like
near
echo,
something.
yeah, lets you like echolocate to certain things. And the person or persons who are tracking us start leaving some vague messages around the park that we hunt down.
Yeah, an interesting story point because from what I could tell, this wave tracker could only track things it was preset to track like a tracking device. So that meant that every time you like sauntered out after that and followed the wave tracker, you were walking right into something that someone had set up for you.
Yeah.
And if you were afraid for your life, like you were definitely walking into a trap. So questionable story decision there, but they were pretty addled, I think.
Yeah, I mean the whole time they're both kind of Delilah more than Henry because I didn't really play into it. I was kind of playing the role of the rational guy. Delilah was getting really paranoid and freaked out and uncomfortable, whereas I
I
was
was pretty freaked out too. Like it's kind of a, I got kind of spooked once or twice in this game. I'm not gonna lie. I got my headset on. It's all dark. You're walking up the cliff and there's a dude just standing there, and he
that
like
was a
looks
little
spooky.
spooky. That was a little spooky with his bright
Yeah.
yellow anime
Or when
sunglasses.
Delilah called you and like tower, and you're like, no, she's like, someone's in your tower. I was like, time to run.
Right, right. And he left like a threatening note at that point, right?
Or when they bashed your window in. Yeah, kind of a. It felt like a thriller, I guess, a
Yeah,
good thriller you could watch on TV.
I think that is accurate. This whole time while this is going on and we're trying to figure out who the heck is stalking us, there's like a big fire going on in the park that's slowly growing, and the atmosphere around the park is getting smokier and hazier, and it's just kind of weirdly.
Eerie.
I mean that's kind of how it is in
Yeah.
parks, right? Eventually, fires hit a point where you can't contain them, and you just kind of have to let them go, and that's what was
It
going
was
on.
um it was a controlled fire at first, which I don't know much about fire management in fire zones, but I think the idea is like you set a fire that you keep control of into a danger area and then burn out the fire so that it's not gonna like light up uncontrolled when no one's around to
Right,
manage it. So they
right,
were on purpose managing this June fire, I think.
right. One thing I
I'm
should
guessing.
I should note that's not really a smart part. At the beginning of the game, you track down some teenage girls who are being reckless and having campfires and frolicking, and
Partying in the USA.
yeah, and I think like about halfway through the game, we get a message from Delilah that they like never made it home or disappeared, and we start talking about how we were messing with them, like Henry was going to screw with them just to get back at them because
Yeah.
they were assholes to us. And we get sent a recording of us talking about fucking with them from this stranger who's listening in, but he's cropped it or edited it to make it sound much more ominous than it was, kind of implying that, hey, I could like get the cops to come check you out based on this. So
Yep.
that plays a good bit more into the paranoia.
Dystopian.
Um, so we're tracking down this fellow with our BP thing. Um, we find a tape recorder. That's kind of like at the end of the game. I mean, we kind of went from like this could be anyone to we find this like little campsite from the son and the boy that Delilah was talking about, and it's where this young boy was doing his fun little experiments and just enjoying nature and journaling his thoughts. And it's a pretty touching area, and we get a glimpse into why Delilah cares about this boy so much, even though she didn't know him that well. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Very fun.
from there, we end up eventually using our BP thing to track down a tape recorder that's basically a confession of what's going on. And did I miss anything between the beginning and this confession? Like we didn't really
Um,
rule anything out, right? Like we found the camp. We I can't think of anything.
are you saying that the confession was surprising and kind of
No,
thrown away?
it was a little abrupt, and I'm not sure why
Well, I mean,
he.
the catching a tape on a rope, right?
Right, and then you climb up and you find
Yeah.
spoil. I guess that happened after we journey into the cave, right? So
Yes.
while all of this is going on, there's this cave in the park, and it's locked away, and we want to go in and see what's going on in there just because we're curious and it seems cool. And eventually, Delilah and Henry convince themselves that it must be part of the mystery as to why we're being stalked. Someone must be hiding something down there.
Yeah.
And we eventually get the key to the gate that's locked. And in what is the most impactful moment of the game, you enter this vast expanse part of the cave that looks up to the surface and has this light shining down, and you see the skeleton of the boy Delilah has been talking about this entire time, and it appears he has was in a climbing accident at some point and perished, and his remains had been there since they disappeared from the park. Um, and it was a really harrowing moment and the most memorable by far for me, just because of how the game made the setting the focal point. Um, like the way the camera pulled back and kind of looked up towards the surface and had the light shining down on this huge like rock climbing descent this boy had been trying before his gear failed, and
Yeah.
it's just really beautiful and a cool. I mean, it's obviously tragic, but it was
It's as
like
beautiful as the game was until that time, except it's shining on a not even a long dead corpse. It's a corpse that's like
well, that's the you say it's as beautiful as the game was, right? Like for me, it was a moment where the environment felt really handcrafted, like someone put this entire environment together by hand. Every rock, every blade of grass was deliberately put somewhere, and they're like, "Bam! Look at this. This is amazing. This is this beautiful area." And I wanted more of that when I was exploring, but we'll get more into that, I think, during maybe art or gameplay. So we find the boy's body. We confirm to Delilah after we get out of the cave because we can't talk to her while we're in the cave what had happened. And then we find this confession from the father, and we find his hideout. He frames it as an accident. The boy fell while they were climbing. He died. He didn't tell anyone because he didn't want anyone to, I guess, come after him or worry about it. And he's just been hiding away in the park ever since, I guess, to prevent people from finding it. Um, and then, as we're kind of like suffering through that revelation with Delilah, the fire is spreading rapidly, and we are forced to evacuate the park. And we start moving towards Delilah's lookout amongst the haze of the fire. And I don't know about you, I asked her to wait for me,
I
and
also did that. I wonder what happens if you don't.
I'm pretty sure that you do not see Delilah in this game, no matter what you do. She obviously does not wait. She's dealing with the
She's been
remorse.
traumatized from hearing that that boy died.
Exactly. I mean, she felt some really strangely strong connection to this boy, and seemed like she almost felt responsible for not maybe trying to get him away from his negligent father or trying a little harder to resolve the situation. And in the end, that's what the story is really all about. Is these two people who are trying to escape uh, troubled past or guilt
Yeah.
in the past, and they want their time together to be this like mystical adventure with these weird crazy things going on, but in the end it's all very easily explained and there's nothing mystical or magical about it, and in reality they're just two adults going through crises and they tried to escape it, and it was all kind of not meaningless but just not nearly as grand, I think, as they both hoped it to be, and had to recognize that they were both running away from something.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a
Um,
reasonable recap of the game's story?
I think that it does seem like a reasonable recap of the game's story. I don't think you left anything out. Um,
And
I really like this game. It's I had to kind of put myself in the mode of like not of it not being a game. It's another walking simulator, really, right? When like Soma, the first game we played, where your play is limited to the interaction with the environment, and it doesn't require a whole crazy amount of skill. There's a little bit of like kind of puzzling out solutions, but mostly it's roaming around. I think it's built as an adventure game, uh, and kind of taking in the expanse around you. And the expanse, as Patrick said, is very beautiful. If you guys have not seen the like screenshots of this game,
unless you're
you
playing on
should. It's really
Switch,
pretty.
which you shouldn't do.
Mine was great. Mine looked very beautiful.
Well,
I'm
you're
talking about your own.
you're playing in like
Uh,
1080p 60 FPS. I was playing
I
in
did.
like,
I specifically went in and cranked it up to like ultra
yeah,
high, which I
well,
never get to.
whatever portable Switch is, it's like 488p along with
Yeah,
like I have staggers of like
30
10.
FPS or whatever.
Oh, at maximum, because I got so many stutters whenever it moved between like the pre-rendered zones.
Before we continue, actually, I found something funny about this game. I would like you to look up a GIF of Henry's character model, like in third person, not in
Mister
first person.
Mister
Go ahead
Meaty
and
Fingers.
go ahead and Google this because it's quite
All
frightening.
right, all right. Wait, are you messaging it to me? And
No, I'm just Google images it and find a moving GIF, an animated
let's
GIF.
see, Henry Firewatch,
Like
third
running through
person.
a freak of nature in third person. There's a
Oh,
there's a GIF of him running. So it's funny to think about.
wait, is
Uh,
it the one where he's like weirdly portioned?
yeah, so he's got like giant arms and a giant ghost head, and his
Yeah,
body
what
is
on earth
tiny.
is the Firewatch
This
as
is
a freak of nature in third person?
this is one of those interesting
Where can
things that
all
you
right?
never think about. But his character model, I don't know if Patrick is showing it on screen or not, but it's very frightening. The developers, had a lot of other shit to focus on, so it looks like they just made this monstrosity. We're playing a lot of Cyberpunk these days as well, so there are some giggles to be had
Oh
about
my god. The
the
third
technical
the third one
trickery.
down when he like comes down from the hill. Oh my god.
Yes, quite frightening.
All right. You
So what I was saying was, it's a beautiful game. And Patrick said it was painstakingly handcrafted, and he's right. I
well,
read that the developers of this game like made every tree or whatever themselves. Like they didn't rely on any like generation of any kind for the kind of textures and backgrounds in this game, and it looks really good. And you're kind of roaming around as Henry, like, oh boy, you got your new job to look out. It's so nice out here. It's so peaceful. And I'm all by myself. There's nobody around me, and I just have this girl, like, who I'm on, who's my boss. It's the only other person, and she kind of likes to talk to me too. And she kind of got like a cute voice. I don't know. And you kind of roam around, you enjoy yourself, and you spend this whole game, you the player, taking how beautiful it is, and you don't think for a second about how your wife is like falling apart from Alzheimer's on the other side of the
except
world.
for the one you have like one you think you wake up in the middle of the night and she's on the radio talking
Yeah,
to you and you can get a taste of her Australian voice acting. I was like, Delilah, you sound weird. Oh.
yeah.
And
In case you forgot, yeah, here she
yeah,
is.
exactly. And then
Which
later
I did not. I would be surprised if anybody could forget about that because if I don't know, this is not a game to miss the first 10 minutes of. Like,
yeah, no.
and you can be like, wow, that's so beautiful. I knew this game was beautiful before I started, but I appreciated it much more when after it started to feel so gross to me, like that I was here and doing this.
Hmm.
it's interesting how much how this game probably plays really differently based on your own past and whatever you and your biases bring to the table. Because you are totally right. Like Alzheimer's is impossible. It's such a challenging disease, and nobody should make light of it, or the people who have to make decisions in their life around
Right.
navigating it. And yet, we're playing this game, and the way the game frames it is really, really easy to judge Henry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then a couple of other times, it also asks you, who are you to judge? And Delilah makes that point strongly a couple times.
Yeah.
She's like, Henry's like, I shouldn't be here. He says that a few times, and Delilah is like, yes, you should. There's nothing wrong in kind of doing this for yourself. And it's a really strong stance. Not one that I agreed with exactly, but that's what I'm talking about. Like,
Right.
you have your own background and your own decision about how you would handle this that you didn't get to. The game made that decision for you before you started. And typically, pulling autonomy out of a player's hands like that isn't something I get on board with. But here I liked it in the context of the game trying to show you something instead of I don't know, you controlling the entire experience.
No, I think that puts it really well. I think the point I mentioned earlier of the theme of the game kind of being, well, I guess this isn't the main theme. This might be more of just a theme sewed within, is escapism. And for the first half of this game, you think, oh, maybe this like crazy psychological thriller movie is what I'm playing. But no, it's just some guy who's punking with us and the kid is
Very
dead.
plain.
Right? It's a kid died. Like, it's tragic, but there's nothing supernatural going on here. And you can't escape whatever you're trying to escape by coming here. You're just going to run into
Yeah.
more real world issues, not some fantastical adventure to solve with your new radio girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that
I
part really
appreciated the sorry, go ahead.
that part just really worked for me. I think
Yeah.
as someone who
The
played through as pragmatic Henry, who was like, no, this is nothing weird, and like, we can explain this, we can figure this out, and no, I'm not going to flirt with you because I'm married to someone who's dying. Like, I'm here and I feel guilty. Like, that was who my Henry was. And
I
so
tried to commit to escapist Henry.
yeah, no,
Um,
I was not ready to live my next life.
Not certainly again not what I would have chosen, but I mean everyone says that like constantly. I think playing this game, not what I would have chosen. But what would you have chosen? Do you really know? I really appreciate the first like half or the first 2/3 of this game, kind of, and especially the I don't know the mundanity before it got all like conspiratorial, which I did like, and I grew to appreciate more later. I think the ending of this game is supposed to be kind of divisively received, but thinking about it more, I kind of appreciate. I it was a little weird. I don't have a full explanation for why Ned was creeping on us and
Yeah.
recording us, and why he had all this shit, and why he cared about all this
Was
stuff.
he the one running the camp?
Yeah, there's
Like,
not
she said it was like,
perfectly wrapped up.
yeah, she said it was sanctioned by a university, and it looked like it was set up for like multiple people. But
I
I
think it
get,
was a research station that he like robbed
Hmm.
and used that equipment to stock. I think maybe he was. My best explanation is that he was obsessed with Delilah, and her obsession with his son. He felt reciprocal towards or something.
Hmm.
But ultimately, what I'm trying to say here is that he ran away too. His son died. He couldn't face the reality in the same way that Henry can't face the reality of his wife needing him and falling apart. And so he stays in this woods, in this wooded area, like a crazy person in a hut, recording others and trying to make sure people don't find his kid who died.
Yeah.
Which you are like, that's insane, that's crazy. But is it not insane to run away and take a job as a lookout in Shoshone Park by yourself in the middle of nowhere?
While your wife is dying.
The parallel there made me appreciate the ending a little bit more.
Oh, I loved the ending, and I think there's no way they should have, like, no way in hell we ever should have seen Delilah. Like, that meeting should not have happened. Like, it.
Certainly.
Yeah, it ended the way it needed to end. Like, he needed to have that harrowing moment that was like, oh yeah, now my life like goes forward, hers goes forward. We may never see each other again.
Yeah.
This was like, a little
On,
escapism.
on a personal note, I thought Henry fucking sucked ass. I thought he was a little bitch boy. I think, and not just because of the beginning of the game, kind of throughout it. He seems like one of these guys that thinks that fucking having a beard is a personality and like IPAs. But really, really, what he
He
is
like
that
explicitly didn't he explicitly say he doesn't like IPAs? Did that happen? Am I crazy? I feel
I
like
don't remember
I feel
that.
like as
I
part
should
of the
listen to it. Maybe
prologue,
that
you like
maybe that has
he seems like a
occurred.
Bud Light kind of guy. I don't know.
Whatever kind of guy he is, the kind of guy he is that he like he kind of stays quiet and tries to fly under the radar so nobody notices this disastrous choice that he's made.
Hmm.
But this is 100% my personal take, and you should play the game for yourself to decide what you feel.
How'd you
I
feel
want to
about
talk
Delilah?
Delilah. Well, I'll say that this is probably for later, but I'll say I love the voice actor for Delilah.
Yeah,
I thought
she was
she gave such a
outstanding.
nuanced performance.
Yeah, okay. Go forward with whatever point you were gonna say.
How did I feel about Delilah? I really liked the part that she played. I loved the conflicting position that the game presents to you. This was maybe my favorite thing of you've done this, you've scarfed off to Shoshone, and now you have this person you've never met who's being flirty with you, and you probably haven't been able to really flirt for years, and it feels guilty. But like, and you're especially I think when you were looking over the creek at the fire or something, and you were kind of talking flirtily about what you were gonna do. It was such a kind of gross and conflicting and warm moment all at the same time. And I really appreciate games that can kind of hit that home. What did I think Delilah? How about do I think Delilah was doing the right thing? She.
In regards to helping Henry, or is like for her own struggle?
Well, we could answer both. She has been working at this park for like 15 years, and she confessed early in the game that she had this boyfriend that things were going really well with, but I don't remember what it was. She got too scared or something, and he broke up with her because she couldn't commit to him or something. So
Yeah.
she's been living a kind of similar. We can sense that she's been living a similar life of escapism here in Shoshone. And then there's the question of was she wrong to kind of talk with Henry in the way that she did?
No. I think she was being a good friend for as much as you can be that intimately
And also,
close
it's something we haven't
in
talked
three
about at all,
months.
the isolation of the game. She's by herself, and you're by yourself, and it's a million acres of land, and that's the deal, you know.
Yeah.
Once you're there, and that takes a psychological toll on a person that might affect your decision making.
Sure, sure.
The last thing I want to talk about here is the inspiration of the game. Fun fact that I read before coming in is that they were trying to kind of imitate or take inspiration from Bioshock's method of instruction and narration, where you're on the phone this whole time with
Andrew Ryan.
Barley or whatever. Hope you guys played Bioshock before now. Before Patrick said that. Well, you're on the phone with this guy the whole time. He like tells you where to go, what to do, and you never see him. And it's spooky, but it's also the only like you just have this
Right.
this radio is everything. There's nobody else. It's just the radio. So could you really stop yourself from catching feelings for somebody if that was the only like lifeline to humanity that you had?
Yeah.
It would certainly make it easier. But that's not even what I wanted to say. So I appreciated the inspiration from Bioshock, and apparently The Walking Dead also, those Telltale games, which I've never played.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the TV show, and I was like,
No, not the, maybe, but have you ever read Crime and Punishment?
Mm-mm.
I found myself thinking about that book a lot during this game. It's a billion-year-old book by Dostoevsky that I was forced to read in English class in high school, and I was glad I did because I liked it. It's about a guy named Raskolnikov who is like in kind of destitute Russia and he's got money and he's fucked. And the book opens with him like premeditating and killing a pawnbroker for their money and using that money to save himself to pay rent or something. And he gets away with it. He's Gucci. And then, like, the rest of the book is him falling apart internally because the guilt is just tearing him to pieces. And it's all about like the physical and psychological effects on the fact that he killed somebody, and he's never in danger of being caught, really. But at the end of the book, he turns himself in because he can't handle it. And I thought about that a lot during this book. It's probably a little bit of a reach to say that it was an inspiration for Firewatch. but I picked up a lot on a lot of kind of similar feelings of. It feels weird to say, but you kind of got away scot free at the beginning in the
Hmm.
same way that Raskolnikov did, and I mean, at least as the player, I feel you feel a little bit of that claustrophobia as you move forward, and that sweat of
Sure.
the fact that you're doing this, and you can tell, and your character definitely does. He betrays his discomfort and kind of unsteadiness in his surroundings a whole bunch of times, both with his new job that he obviously knows nothing about, and the fact that he's doing something morally questionable.
That's a really cool point. I have not read that, but I think that's a pretty good parallel.
It's worth reading.
For
Like I
anyone
said,
who's read Crime and Punishment and was looking for the video game adaptation, Firewatch. There you go. I only have a couple
very
more.
great.
Yeah, I only have a couple more story things I want to talk about because I mentioned earlier that the moment when you find the boy's body and it kind of just is like, oh, here's this
Yeah.
awesome part of the map. I wanted more of that. I wanted more storytelling through the map. I like we went to a couple places. At the beginning you go to a lake and that's where like the naked teenage girls are playing and it's like, look at this beautiful tranquil lake that's being ruined by
Hold on.
these.
These naked teenage girls are seen from afar. They are they
Correct.
are
There's
dark figures in the distance. It's not like
they were you see their underwear and they repeat.
naked teenage girls.
No, it's more like I found these panties, Delilah,
Panties.
panties. But it's like here's this beautiful tranquil lake, and then you are in the cave, and it's like here's this beautiful, awesome cave. But there just weren't that many moments, and the time it hit me the hardest is when I was like backtracking to try to escape. I came across this like rock formation.
Backtracking. Let's talk about fucking
We'll get there
backtracking.
when we go to gameplay. We'll get there. We'll get there. I came across this like rock formation on the ground, and it was like a circle of rocks with like it almost looked like a wheel.
Medicine wheel.
It looked
You
like a
talk
wheel.
about you fall into Delilah. She's like, that's a medicine wheel.
So I must have just missed the audio cue because I just like walked by it and didn't see my little radio icon and just kept going. And I was like,
Mm,
why the fuck aren't there more cool like little hidden
oh,
air?
radio icon.
Yeah, I guess I should have ran around the entire wheel. So maybe this is a horrible example and I'm just a bad player, but I wanted to like have more uniquely designed areas rather than like running through the same like four paths over and over again. That's point number one. It's kind of a nitpick just because of how great the last moment was, but maybe that is deliberate to save that up for one super strong mega story point. The second thing, the cash boxes where you like get supplies and there are little notes
Mm.
sometimes. Did you find those impactful? Like I think a lot of the background
Are they
where
cute?
it was interesting. It,
I have trouble keeping up.
yeah, exactly. Like
I get to them in different areas, and I'm like, I think you were supposed to go back into your inventory and like
read
read
them all
through
chronologically.
of these gay question mark.
Question mark. Unclear. Not sure.
Yes. It's hard
Yeah.
to tell. Don't tell what happens at Shoshone National Park. What
Not that
happens
there's
if you
anything wrong with that.
escape
Uh,
in Wyoming? God.
yeah. I guess I just want a little more from that, and
You
it
want to
just
see Dave and John's bodies in the thing too? They fell down like the Pompeii couple.
I
They
don't.
died
No, I just like
like stacked on top of each other and
I guess it was
clusters on top or whatever. I can't remember what it's
I
called.
guess it's because I didn't go back and read them all, and so I got them in like random orders, and would
Yeah.
like I would go loot one because
I
we
mean,
know.
I didn't either, and so can we assume our experience is the average? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
guess they didn't feel that impactful. And I like
I just read them. I was like rooting for you, Dave and Greg or whatever. See, yeah, gonna go lumber
yeah,
over
there's
here.
my
Talk to
meaty.
my radio girlfriend some more.
Yeah, those are two small things. I like. I think my biggest gripe comes back to just being split between am I this character, is this character his own entity, and like you're giving me these choices to flirt, but it's kind of like all of these train tracks that lead to the same base, and
Yeah,
maybe that illusion of choice hurt me more than it helped me, but maybe that's the point, and it just didn't hit me
well,
correctly, and that's my fault. I don't know.
no, I don't think it's your
It's
fault.
also possible that because I was playing on the Switch and I was like in a living room and there's people talking and like things may not feel quite as impactful if I was like locked in a
Yeah,
closet with the lights off and am going through all of that with literally just Delilah.
locked in the closet.
Yeah.
What you're saying is a common complaint about video games with these these alleged narrative choices that seem to lead to the back place, the same place. Because I felt like they would too. Like I didn't pay attention to it because it kind of felt thrown in by the
Mm.
developers, I guess.
Well,
Did
that's
it?
bad too, right? Like, I didn't even want dialogue options. I just wanted to like show me that you're like you have this awesome story that you've written, and I just want to like experience it. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have the option to flirt or not flirt. Like, if that's something that you think is a interesting character trait, like Henry flirts and then feels guilty about it because he's getting lost in his little
Yeah.
adventure, like I think that would have been cooler to me than having me be able to be like, are you stupid? I'm here mourning my dying wife. I'm not going to flirt with you. Like, that's a
Yeah.
less interesting character because it's more like me. And I think Henry could have been more interesting if they just picked some of these points for me and like made him a little more paranoid of the weird shit going on and a little more eager to cozy up with Delilah. Whereas I'm just like, there's probably a person and leave me alone, you skank. Like, those,
Yeah.
it just impacted my connection to Henry, and
This is a
that
game
was unfortunate.
that's not like crazy interested in innovating in a number of areas, including the way the narrative, the decision making, the gameplay certainly, in kind of a lot of areas. And it's up to us to decide whether that's too much for us or if we can appreciate the area that it really did focus on, which is the beauty of the national park and the graphics, I guess,
Hmm.
and how they chose to, well, maybe I'm reaching with this, but how they chose to implicate that in the story context with what I was saying before.
Sure.
And it's a good question because honestly, I really prefer that games do integrate their gameplay to tell the story. I, like everybody else, I prefer for my decisions to have impacts, and I didn't super feel that way in this. Um, and I prefer for the experience to be maybe a little bit unexpected, and everything felt pretty expected in terms of gameplay and the path you follow. You definitely feel on the tracks. This is another one of those games. Maybe we'll play one day a game that doesn't feel that way. But yeah, so it's not the most innovative game in the world, but it doesn't kind of try to be, I guess.
No, I think it was deliberate that
It's
they
really
they
short too,
yeah,
so
it's
that five
three,
hours,
4 hours,
right?
5 hours
Yeah,
max. Like, they had feelings they wanted you to feel, and
but I think as a
all
game
of the
goes,
decisions feed into those same feelings. And like, we clearly experienced the same sort of guilt and like disgust at even having the option to like flirt with Delilah, even though you did. Like, we got to the same place. I just
this is maybe a bit of a
maybe
broad
I'm
question.
supposed to feel like this. I don't know.
To me, this game is about feelings, how you feel about the moral quandary it presents you with,
Mm.
how it feels to see to like take in with your eyes and your ears all this stuff in the park. Um, yeah,
Yeah. All right. I think let's wrap it up on story there. Overall, it's a good story. You seem to have liked it a little more than me. I think it
I like
wasn't.
the first half much more than the second half, I will say, but
Yeah, fucking Ned.
I appreciated the dangerous position that they put you in morally. I don't think a lot of games like to do that.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good. I'm like, we're nitpicking here. That's what we're gonna do. I enjoyed the experience. It was a little bit of a letdown for the 4 years of anticipation or whatever that I had. So,
Right.
but
I had less expectations than you when we started, so I'm not good or bad, but
yeah,
yeah, I didn't know what to expect.
let's move on to what little there is of gameplay, and that's not a slight so much as, like Peter said, this is a walking simulator. We both knew that going in. You have some various means of traversal, but it's mostly just go to this place and press this button, find this tool, and use it to do the one thing that
Yeah,
it is meant to do. I wish there was a little more
I wish
expo.
there was a little more. Like there, this is a game. Come on, I think this game costs like $20 too. Like
Well,
I,
let me finish that. So, I was gonna say a little more of a specific thing, and then you're like, I feel that also. So, at one point in time, you go over to an area where some firemen have burned down an area. You're like looking for someone to talk to about something. I'm forgetting what the specifics are, but you find an axe, what is effectively an axe over there, that you eventually use to break down a gate to get into that camp that Ned was hijacking. But on your way back, you were given an opportunity to chop down a tree, and it lets you cross a little canyon to re-access the area you came from. And I think it would have been nice to have a couple more exploration options like that. Not like
Metroidvania-esque almost. Go
I
back with your axe and
not
you'll
even
find a
necessarily to like access the same areas, but how cool would it have been if
just
like
something.
you couldn't access this like sweet waterfall until you get this item, and like there's nothing there except to have this like a touching moment with Delilah. Like that's all I wanted. I just wanted
Yeah.
like cool exposition moments that were gated by progress in the game that is linear, but we didn't even really get that. Most of the
Fair
most
question. They could have definitely made that happen. I feel like.
Yeah, most of the game is backtracking through the same 4 or 5 areas and holding up your compass and map and being like, I thought I was going west. No, I was going southeast. Whoops. I
I got the biggest takeaway for me in this game is that I could never fucking be a fire lookout or whatever it is. I got lost so much. It's ridiculous. And I had my compass and then my map, and then
Well,
I had
it got worse when you get the little beepy thing because it like completely changes up the
replaces
game.
your compass. You're
And it's
like
like I want my map, but now I have this thing that just like no compass. It just tells me SE. I'm like I don't know. Is 5E? What is that? Oh, I get it. I'm
and
just
then
an idiot.
you would have to listen and hear what Delilah tells you to do. Because I'm just dumb. I didn't realize that you can track the objective by opening the map. Because I'll be like, what do I do? Am I finding bear tracks? I'm like running around trying to figure out or see something, but I couldn't find it. And then eventually I realized that if you open your map, it tells you
Yeah.
the objective again, and
I did not miss that.
it's a lot more helpful. And there's a beeping little thing for you on the map.
Yeah.
That leads you where you need to go, and you kind of do get a sense for where things are in the forest and the map. Which I will give it that little 3-pointer.
I
as you
did.
play the game, you get a familiarity for the forest, which one might do as a lookout.
Yeah,
Cool.
I did like having to like pinpoint an area on the map. I say pinpoint. I mean, you had to look at the map and read it to be. She's like, go to Barefoot Springs or whatever, and you have to find Barefoot Springs on the map and then go there instead of being like, here's a pin and an arrow telling you where to go. So like, I appreciate it. It's not like innovative or complex, but it made me feel much more in the woods than I actually was.
I want to talk about the animations a little bit, which I think took up maybe a third of the game. This is probably unfair of me, but
It
Terry
is.
fucking heaving himself up onto a ledge.
At least you can talk while it's going on, right? Like I was afraid I would start an animation and then not be able to like pick a choice, and I'd have and get to the top and like dot.
Fantasy 7 choice.
Yeah, leave Delilah on red or whatever because I was hiking up 5 hills, but that didn't bother me as much. I liked the meaty.
I felt fat.
Yeah,
like,
and he is fat.
Really, I would have thought it would be cool if you had trouble at the beginning and you get faster, like you like agilely like jump over the log. You're there for like 3 months, okay? Like he's not gonna like hawk a loogie while he's heaving himself over this log after that long of doing it.
Yeah, I didn't mind the animations as much. The repelling was fun. I liked seeing his hands because they were so weirdly like
meaty, like disc hands.
Well, they're like Wallace and Gromit if you've ever seen that.
This is not a person who would have made it to adulthood with hands like this. This is a person who would have fucking his feet get stabbed.
Like he definitely can't open
he can't tie his shoes.
Yeah, he can't open a can of soda. Just impossible.
He just crushes it. He takes his python and he shotgun. That's how he drinks soda.
But I enjoyed it. I think they paid attention. As someone who cares about animation a lot, I studied animation. I care.
Being really unfair. Like
the animations are well done, and you feel like you're exerting, which is important for someone who's clearly out of shape and is just like a middle-aged man who somehow ended up in that was a lookout in the middle of Wyoming. Like it worked for me.
How about the camera mechanic?
I used it twice at the beginning and then forgot it exists. And
like 11 photos.
Yeah, and then at the end during the credits, I think it shows you all your pictures, and mine was like 2 pictures, and then like here are outlines where all of your memories would be, and I was like, fuck, I forgot about this camera. I could have taken a picture of the boy dead at the bottom of the cave. Whoops.
You did that?
No, I said I
thought you just ran the credits and you got dead boy scrolling.
just the same picture over and over again.
No, thank you.
I completely forgot it existed. I wish it would have like it would have been nice if they were like, here's a mission where we go make you take a picture of something so that you remember you have this fucking thing, and like not even a single time. And maybe they didn't want you to have to remember your game. I don't know,
You
but
just didn't. You just don't have the photographer gene in you, Patrick. You just don't want it enough.
I guess not. I mean, I'm like taking screenshots on the Switch instead when I can be taking a picture in game.
Did you actually take screenshots instead of using the camera?
I would have to go look. I don't know. It just seemed like it would be a funny thing to say. Uh, we're talking about gameplay. Yeah, not. I mean, there's not much more to say, right? I wish there was a little more exploration. It could have even used the same mechanics, but just like you have your ropes that allow you to go to like anchor in a rock and rappel somewhere, and the only reason we got that is to experience the final story moment. And like I said, if there had been like any areas in the map that were gated by those, that would have been cool.
Well, we can talk about, and this will bleed over into art a little bit, I guess, but we can talk about that eternal intersection of gameplay and art, which is the UI. I'm kind of a sucker for UIs,
Yeah.
and I liked this one because what it did is like you would just kind of look around and see the beauty of the world, and then when something relevant was up to you, it would just kind of chow like white text saying X or whatever or pinecone on the screen to I guess denote that something was there.
Pick up pinecone and then throw it with the one throw animation.
Drop, yeah.
It's like you can pick shit up off a table, but it's impossible to put it back on the table because he basically just drops it.
Chuck it like you chuck everything else in your life.
Yeah. This picture of me and my wife, this is beautiful.
Ruby out the broken window.
Yeah.
It used a comfy, clean color scheme of yellow, white, and black.
Yeah.
And it always came back to this cute little medallion that it put together, this kind of shield with a tree in the middle of it. And it would kind of cut you off whenever like a beat had come in the story for the next thing to happen, and it would be like day 4 or whatever.
That's a complaint I was going to bring up during story, and I decided not to because it's kind of a pacing issue. But there were like 3 or 4 days in the first third, middle third, where it'd be like, you're walking to the toilet, you say one thing to Delilah, boom, 30 days later.
70.
Yeah, it's like you just spent 30 seconds talking, time to like have the same loading time and same amount of effort as like the first impactful day where you're chasing down the skinny dippers. And I was like, why did I have to do like 3 of these days in a row that were like half a second long, and then I have to go back to the loading screen and it flash forwards like 30 more days?
There was a restart current day option in the menu, which I am thankful I never had to use, although once or twice I was...
When would you need to do that?
In case your super Neanderthal brain lets you not know where the next objective is and you feel stuck. I can see it happening. This is a very roundabout place, and if you get stuck somewhere and you can't click the thing onto the fucking thing,
I guess. I don't know. It didn't.
Rewind time.
Not any. Yeah. No, I agree. The UI was pretty. It was minimalist. It worked. I really liked the radio talking controls. It felt like you're using a radio, right? Like using all. Wait, how was it? You played on PC? Did you use a controller?
Yeah, I just did it on keyboard. I really liked that on mouse and keyboard.
Oh, interesting. Because like, obviously playing with Joy-Cons, you like use the bumpers to like raise your hand, and then the other bumper to like select the text. No, because like when you're holding a walkie-talkie, you like use your index finger to like.
Oh, you're holding the Joy-Con, like you were holding the two.
Can you see my camera?
No.
I'm just looking at you.
I've been looking at myself this entire time.
That works.
And I always do.
That works because I have my camera in the recording, and
I'll just.
Yeah, there we go. Just all right. Well, imagine you're holding 2 Joy-Con. Yeah, imagine you're holding 2 Joy-Cons. They got a real good look at the stash there. All right, and now you're going to. You get an option to talk to Delilah. You press your left bumper. All right, now that raises the walkie-talkie, and then it presents you with your dialogue options, and you use the right bumper to select one. So you scroll through them by like clicking the
not the right scroll thing.
the right bumper, because you like click through them because you're moving and looking around while you're doing this. Oh no, it was good. It was immersive because like you could still.
My experience on PC was you do shift to open the thing, and I liked the clicky click so much that I just click, and then I turn sticky keys on.
I did feel like there were a couple moments where I got caught, like not able to respond in time. I think I left Delilah on red only
Yeah, it's
one.
got like a timer. Brrr. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that at first.
I
I
think
thought they would.
I think I only left her on red once or on.
For a while. Okay, so it lines you up the choices, and
Yeah.
then it's got a bar here that lowers down. I didn't notice that for a while because it's so imperceptible, and I would see it like a third of the way down. So what I saw was like a gold highlighted one and two white highlighted options, and I was like, obviously I must pick the gold highlighted. That's what the story wants me to pick. So I just picked whatever it said on the gold without realizing it's ticking down. So I probably said some. I assumed the game would not progress unless I picked the gold one, like in Cyberpunk.
You
So I
mean
probably said some mean shit to Delilah.
so the gold one in your case was just the one that had highlighted. It was the first one in the list.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it would be two, and I was like, that's funny that they're almost like this is moving forward in time.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not the most attentive gamer, even when I'm paying deep, close attention to
Wow.
sensory experience.
Well, I don't think there's much more to talk about gameplay wise. I do think that like picking shit up was a little finicky. There was a moment where you like are going to fetch food, and you like go to one of the caches, and there's three containers of food, and you're just I don't know if this happened to you or if this only happened to me because of what happened. So you pick up the first one, and that's like, all right, you did the story thing. Like you went and got your food. But I picked up the one in the second container, and it wouldn't let me put it back down while I was talking to Delilah. So I'm just like running around with this like barrel of food. And then in a later dialogue, she was like, "Did you take food for multiple people? Did that happen to you? Did you have that
Yeah, he
dialogue?"
asked me that, but I, like a good Christian boy, took just the one
And she
small
bought it because I
Yeah,
think
dude, because I did. I didn't steal other
I
people's
I
food.
think my only options were to be like, yeah, I took more because I was hungry, and like I was like, I didn't even mean to pick this up, and then it wouldn't let me put it back down. That's
What'd she
funny.
say to you? I am curious how that panned
She was
out.
like, "That's for other people." I was like, "Well, boys."
Whatever. I do what I want. I'm Henry.
I think that
I'm part.
conversation might have happened
I have no
like
consequence to me.
in that like 30-second day where I was walking to the toilet. I can't remember.
I have one more important gameplay note that I just remembered that is the most important one of the game.
Okay.
I might make you feel bad. I'm not sure. Did you adopt the turtle?
Oh, adopt the
You
turtle?
didn't find the turtle. There's a turtle on a rock
No,
somewhere.
I wait. I'm gonna have to
What do
Google
you do?
this.
You chuck it into the. You pick it up, and it's like, you want to adopt this cute turtle? And obviously, you fucking adopt the turtle. And then if you do, you like keep him in your sink in the
I did
shower.
not find this
Like,
fucking turtle. What the
he's like
shit?
turtling around cutely, and like you can pick him up and like
Oh
use
my
him for.
god! Clearly I wasn't exploring enough. Maybe it's because I my game was running at
I already gave
5
you background
FPS.
information. Yeah. Anyway, I adopted the turtle. He's pretty cute. I named him Ollie.
Wow, that is a moment I wish I had experienced.
Yeah.
Maybe there were more of
Sorry.
those that neither. I mean, I didn't get to talk about the medicine wheel either. What the fuck is a medicine wheel?
It's like a Native American
Aliens got it. It's aliens.
wheel.
As someone who didn't talk to Delilah, it's definitely aliens.
Yeah.
All right.
Music and sound.
Yeah, sound, voice acting, music, out of
Music's great.
out of this fucking world, and it always chimed in at the right time. Like we'd like
Music's really like spooky. I say about everything in this game.
it was like peaceful for something that was kind of not peaceful, and it almost like
Not a
it.
single complaint about music from me.
Yeah, I think your spooky word's almost right. It was almost like ominous and kind of like foreboding, but also like entrancing. And man, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that soundtrack because I wanted a little more of it, but it definitely showed up at the right times and always hit.
Yes, very furtively used.
Which
The rest of the
probably
time, quiet, and you hear the fucking trees coming down or the birds like creaking of the wood around you. Like, it's all part of that package that they try to make you feel like, wow, this place is so beautiful. But you're here at the expense of someone else.
I think it could have used a couple, like you say, birds and shit. I think, and maybe this is more art, a couple more moments where you like see wildlife. You
Yes,
had
that would have been nice.
you had your
You just
turtle
reminded
moment.
me that. Go ahead, sir.
You had your turtle moment. I'm like over here. I see like one fucking bird in the whole game. I'm like, are there no deer or bears
Yeah,
or?
you just reminded me of the thing you probably experienced this too at the time when you're feeling pretty paranoid. And then you're running, and out of the woods is like, and it's like, oh, what the fuck was that? And Delilah's like, oh, it's probably a bull elk or someone trying to scare you. And you keep going, you never see the elk, and that's
Yeah.
that's it. That's the wildlife for you in this game. It was
But
such a weird, a terrifying screech and and then it's just like they don't come back to it.
Yeah,
I guess it's just a moment to make you feel on edge, but
I guess I don't know. I feel like there could have been a moment where you like come across a little spring and there's like
or a
deer.
bear. Like you thought you were gonna encounter a bear when they were talking about the
I
polar
know.
bear by the lake or whatever.
Anyways, sound music's amazing. Voice acting is like arguably the best part of this game. At least for me, I think Delilah.
Yeah,
And I know you
and
thought,
Henry. Henry was
I
great.
know you think Henry's a little shit character, but his voice
His voice
actor,
acting was great.
it was really strong. Like
He, yeah.
this was a game that makes me appreciate that it is not easy to be a good voice actor.
Yes, he was. He kind of gave you this impression of being uncomfortable and being gruff, and this kind of attitude, like he, I don't know, felt like I don't know how to place this, but like he felt like he was a little bit better than you,
Hmm.
or that he like would point out when things are obvious, which is a really nuanced thing to put into a performance. I think I did not get the. I don't know how to put this, but I didn't get the sense that it was an incredibly seasoned voice actor there. I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if it was just someone on their team who had the chops.
Hmm.
I almost want to look it up now.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do think Delilah was a little stronger, and every like all of
Oh
her
yeah, of
lines were
course.
delivered so well. And there was a
I
section.
got a. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
You're fine. There's a section at the beginning where she was like making a bunch of puns. Eh,
No fucking way, dude. The voice actor for Henry is the guy. He's an actor. He is oh my god, I can't believe it's this guy. He's Harry Crane from Mad Men.
the like
His
skinny
name.
looking guy.
No, he's kind of this kind of portly guy with
I didn't
glasses.
watch Mad Men. Harry
He's
Crane,
very,
Mad
very.
Men.
He's great. Wow, I was totally wrong about him being a veteran, but
It
oh
kind
my
of looks.
god, I love this guy. He's excellent in Mad Men, and his character is so interesting.
I wait.
I
What's
think
the
it's
actor's name? I recognize him from something else.
Rich Sommer.
It's
Richard Sommer.
Yeah, he's been in something else recently that I've seen. What is it? We're going off the rails here. The Dark Madman. Maybe he hasn't. Who the fuck knows? Who's
I do.
Delilah? Now I'm
I do.
curious.
Cynthia Jones is Delilah. I do agree that she gave the more nuanced performance.
The deuteragonist. I've never heard that word before.
Yes, it's kind of the secondary protagonist.
Yeah, Delilah's dark secret.
Evidently, I got this kind of backwards. Cissy Jones's career kind of began, and Firewatch was an earlier work for her.
Well,
she started in 2011, and this happened in 2016.
she carried the show. They did, and can't recommend it enough. Sound design, everything. Highlight of this game, and that just leaves art. You had a much better art experience than me. It sounds like. Don't play this handheld on Switch. I can't stress enough how bad the performance was. So much like stuttering and lagging whenever there was a particular section where you have to like navigate through brush, and my game would just come to a fucking crawl. It was so sad because like that's the part that is arguably the most famous for this game, right? All these like beautiful vistas, the color palette, and people who have no fucking clue what the game is use it as their background for some reason. But and it was still beautiful, right? Like it still looked good until the end when everything is hazy because there's a fire, and you're like, this is bumming out my. This is harshing my beautiful environment vibe.
It's intentional harshing your vibe.
Right. It's kind of.
I do want to really kind of praise this for them because the art direction in this game is singular. It's the reason you see it fucking kicking around in wallpapers and stuff is because it accesses something inside of us with the colors and it has this obviously unreal. Like you look at it and it's like not realistic,
Right.
And yet it is. Especially with the nature scene, something like you focus on any individual part, and you can tell that it's not a real thing. But if you just focus your eyes for a second, like in Magic Eye, it's like you're there. Like it's like you're right there in Wyoming in the forest. And it has really grabbed people for years now. I think that is what has propelled this game to the height that got you so excited for it.
Yeah, right.
And it really deserves commendation, I think.
It absolutely does. What is the studio? Campo Santo. Have they made anything else since this?
That's a good question.
In the Valley of something.
I know that the main writer moved over to Valve, where he started banning people in Dota and putting them.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
That definitely stuck out in
They have a development blog. Are they working on anything? In the
Yeah, it
Valley
says
of the Gods.
published by Valve. TBA, bro. See you
So it
never.
looks like
Well,
they're doing a similarly.
see you never, pathetic fools.
It kind of looks like they're doing a similarly styled
Valve
game.
bought them. Valve acquired the studio. So,
Well, I hope.
ruins a whole other conversation then, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll find out if we ever see any more games from them, or if they're just. Maybe they'll just be working on the Steam store for the rest of time. They can make it look pretty.
Maybe.
I don't know,
I don't know.
but
I don't know. Yeah, weird. Okay,
the,
the art's good.
the art is good. There's not a lot to say about that. I mean, one thing.
I don't know
That
how they differentiate art. I'll talk about this too. I'll talk about art all day.
do it.
The color palette, right?
Yeah.
Boy, this game has a great color palette, but it doesn't just have one color palette. It varies it significantly based on the mood and the time of day. Obviously,
Mhm.
I've never been to Shoshone National Park, but if this game is to be believed, it is strikingly different based on what time of day and where the sun is coming in.
Right.
And the color variation is just astonishing. I kind of wish I could show you some of my pictures because these trees can look orange or purple or
Are they saved to your
green.
Are they saved to your computer?
No, I actually have no idea how to get them out. And I'm not about to launch them. This isn't going to be Peter Quigley's projector hour where I make all of you fucking watch
No,
things.
that's
And
fine.
this is when I told Delilah that I liked it. No. Fond memories for me. Yeah, the color palettes vary a lot. I would say the most consistent color palette is the one they use for direction and UI, which is white. And when you see white, that is something that I gotta it catches your eye.
Yeah.
You even oh, what was that? I flickered over something that's white. What is it? And the rest of it kind of blends into the background in a beautiful kind of, I don't know what the word is. Pastiche.
Pastiche?
Lovingly admired. Yeah,
That is not the word I thought was going to come out of your mouth. I didn't know what word.
Giving me powers beyond your mortal reckoning.
Clearly, yeah. I mean, you're putting it into words better than I can. I'm like, it's pretty. It looks nice. Don't play it on Switch. I agree. It definitely had more variation than I thought it would. I was expecting full on I'm in the fucking Grand Canyon. It's orange. It's brown, but it looks good. But these are the colors we have, and you're gonna like it.
It's
But
not perfection, which they kind of accepted when they started.
Yeah, I mean, it's
if you focus on any individual part. You're not gonna if you pick up a wood grain or whatever, it's gonna look like a.
Yeah, no, you're right. This is more of a step back and look at the whole sort of game than it is examine how detailed our environments are. It's more we made this beautiful painting, examine it from 20 feet away and admire it. One thing I'll say is, with the fires developing in the park, it is cool how they affect the environment, and you see them from afar. There's always smoke bellowing into the air. Over time, the air becomes hazier, and it's a cool experience and a change.
And how it matters for the story as well. This is a significant thematic choice of this growing fire that began controlled and lost and got out of control and it is burgeoning and it is pressing on the main character's attention. And by the end of the game, you can't look away from it. Everywhere you step is smoke.
Yeah, and it escalates kind of parallel to our adventure with Ned and his son, right?
Yes.
By the time we find out his son died and Ned has been spooking on us, the fire is out of control and we have to leave because both stories are done. The fire has pushed us away from our journey and we are leaving not fulfilled, but it is completed.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't think I have any more thoughts on.
I don't think I do either.
Our strokes. Yeah, let's do it. Let's give some final grades. I'll be curious because I wrote up a review or a post for the Patient Gamers subreddit just for myself. It hasn't gotten much traction or anything, but Firewatch came in pretty low as far as the games I played that are considered patient, which are 6 months or older. It was towards the bottom.
Number one was Doki Doki Literature Club. So.
Actually, it was Katana Zero, which was the last game I played.
The game I've been telling you to play for 2 years.
Yep, it was the only game I ranked perfect in my list. Oh, did I lose you? You must be
better game.
you must be so excited that
It will reflect in. Can you hear me?
you were so excited and mind blown that I love this game that your entire screen froze.
Is it still frozen?
No, you're good now.
Oh, good. I have a real soft spot for succinct games that do kind of a manageable grasp and try to make a single point or two,
Yeah.
and that will reflect in my and Katana Zero certainly, and in my forthcoming
Yeah,
versions.
we can talk about Katana Zero another time because I think that game is perfect. But yeah, it was a little surprising how low it came in considering the hype I had for it. So I'll let you go first. As far as
Okay.
we give a letter grade for the games we played through, which is not perfect. No rating system is, and rating
Mm-hmm.
something is a personal journey and doesn't really mean anything as far as whether or not you will enjoy it. Um, but it helps us keep track of what we've been doing, where we're going, where our interests lie, and
Mm-hmm.
is the only tangible way to really compare how we feel about it. Because in general, we our tastes are fairly similar. We disagree on some things, but it's fun to
Yeah.
it's fun to not chronologue. Is chronologue a word? Is that a verb?
Chronicle.
Chronicle. That's the one. Chronicle our history. So without further ado, Peter Quigley, letter grade.
I feel pretty comfortable giving this game a B. I think it is a great game. It's you have to accept pretty early on the reach of the game and what they want it to be, and that I think greatly enhances your appreciation of it.
Mm,
Um, it it's one of those games where you kind of question, is this really a game? Because I don't play, like I'm not getting skilled at this or anything.
sure.
And for that reason, it's I am docking it like a step or two out of
Yeah, I was
most
kind of
people.
expecting a B plus out of you based on what I've heard so far.
Yeah, this is the reason that this game is not a B plus, because I do believe I like this game, but I do believe there's a way to tell this story um, and still have a game out of it. I don't know what that is, but I would like to see it. I think Campo Santo is a talented group of people, and developers have done more with less. So I think that it could have been done, and I would have enjoyed seeing it. It would be a great next step for them. I think. I don't know what In the Valley of the Gods is their next game, but
Is
I hope that it's an actual game, because I love games, and I love them for playing them and the feeling that you get when something clicks
yeah.
and you feel as though like there's more to learn. And that's not happening in something like this. So
Yeah, it seems like we might need to stray away from the walking simulators. You gave Soma a B too, didn't you? Or did you give that a B minus? I gave
I gave
Soma.
Soma
I believe
I
I.
gave Soma a B as well.
Yeah, I think I gave Soma a B plus.
I appreciated the points this game tried to make, and the different experience that it tried to kind of put you in. So that propelled this one forward a little bit for me. But it is definitely far from a perfect game. The coveted A plus, which I'm not sure what anything would ever reach.
All
But
right.
that's what I'm gonna give the game.
My final grade is a B minus. I'm a
Ooh,
little.
I
I'm a
thought it would
little.
be lower.
Oh, I told you it was lower. Is surprisingly low. I played a lot of good games this year, but I don't know. I think it is being unfairly docked by my experience on the Switch. I might have to like wait a year or two and play it on the PC and see if the art and sounds are much more amplified and
Mm-hmm.
take more of a focal point when I'm playing on a big monitor with some like over ear headphones with no one around. I think that might be the case. Uh, so it's possible it got a short stick here, but
It's such a shame that you lost out so much on the performance on Switch.
yeah, it is a shame. You would think the Switch would be able to handle it, but alas, I played Katana Zero in similar circumstances and think it was perfect. So clearly, I mean, it didn't have the performance issues, but it had the same kind of like there are people around me doing things.
I live for people telling me that my recommendations to them are
Yeah,
perfect.
I
This
know.
is like crack to me.
No, I think my rating pretty much comes exclusively from not connecting with this story as much as I wanted to and feeling that like internal battle between the Henry they've written and the
Yeah.
Henry that I'm portraying as myself and kind of having my decisions that they offered me for some reason not really matter. And again, that might be their like overall
You
point.
just don't like that diegetic style. Like,
I guess. I mean,
it's a risk that you run if you're a storyteller. Like, if you want to make a decision like that possibly sets you apart from the person who's going to be taking in the story. Like you risk distancing them from the character that you want them to get invested in. So
Right.
it's a fine line to walk.
Right.
The fact that it sounds like it fell on that side for you.
Yeah, I wanted to care about Henry. I like he felt really authentic.
It's incredibly hard. He's such a fucking twat.
Sometimes his yeah, I don't know. It was a weird experience for me. I'll have to play through it again. It's so short. I beat it in 2 sittings. Um, but it has a lot of
Much longer. I took like 5 days. I don't know, probably longer.
yeah.
You're just
Well,
fast gamer.
you're engrossed.
Speed gamer.
I was traveling while you're able to be engrossed with Cyberpunk. So
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is a really good game. It's a really good game. A B minus. Like I
I
don't
think it's fair grade.
like if the game gets an 8 or an 8.1 or an 8.2 out of 10, I think that's really solid, and I think they did a lot of awesome things.
Where would you say is our cutoff line for a bad game?
I I don't think like okay, look at our last review.
D.
Yeah, I mean, look at our last game, right? Like I gave Final Fantasy VII Remake a C plus, and I think you gave it a C minus. But like I enjoyed a lot of that game. I like more than you.
Sure. It's not helpful to paint a line in the sand.
Well, no, but it is because of how reviews are written
How people do reviews.
and what is expected, and the fact that right now, if you don't get like a 9 or a 10 out of 10, the game is like it must be shitty because
I think you and I should depart from that.
I agree.
The appreciation of games as a holistic thing with good parts and bad parts.
Yeah.
Like much of life.
Like I said, we're applying these letter grades to them, but that it doesn't mean a whole lot. We're doing it.
They don't mean much.
We're doing it purely for like
Fun.
so that whoever watches this has something to be like to point to and be like, this is what someone who I largely have similar taste in felt about the game. And I do think that we should be really intentional about grades as low as a C minus, not meaning that this game is shitty. It means like 7 out of 10 is supposed to be like it has good parts, it has bad parts, it's an average experience.
A lot of people love Final Fantasy VII Remake. I will tell you that.
Oh, I know. People like most of the people like the people I consume, most of the content I consume, it's usually PlayStation leaning because PlayStation's been killing it, and well, they've been killing it in
We're
the.
not at the point in our career where we could just buy a new console and they send us the games to review.
Yeah, no, not there yet. But I would say a lot of people, with the exception of like one person I follow, probably have Final Fantasy VII Remake in their like top 3 for game of the year.
Stop. Don't get me started.
I know. But neither of us played it as a kid, and I think like most of the gaming community has somehow, which is interesting because I guess the people who had
it was a major game.
The people who had a PS2 as a kid are the people who ended up in the games industry, the people who are like obsessed with Final Fantasy VII, and I don't want to tell I'm not going to tell them they're wrong for thinking it's the game of the year. Like that's how opinions work, and that's something that is like not at all prevalent in the journalism or dialogue about gaming right now. Is people can't just be like, yeah, we can have like a completely different set of 5 games as my game of the year candidate, and that's cool. Yeah. It's just not a thing. But I'm getting distracted by negative energy, so let's do a quick. Yeah, no. Let's do a quick rundown of what's happening for our next review because it is a little different. Normally we play through the same game, but Peter had a really genius idea, right? So we're mostly trying to focus on older games that both of us wouldn't have played otherwise, because that expands our library of things that our library of games that we get to enjoy, and B, it's just cool to see how games hold up. So he being Peter has decided that we're going to both play a Game Boy Advance game that we adored as a child. And for me, he has chosen Golden Sun. I'm excited. I've never played it. He talks about it all the
time. Golden Sun is my favorite game of all time. So I have high hopes.
Yeah. No pressure. But Peter has largely recommended me great things so far.
I'm going to play Mega Man Battle Network, which
three.
I got the blue version.
Excellent.
Coming. I buy it now on eBay. It's inbound.
I won't say this is my favorite game of all time, but I will say that this series is criminally underloved, and I was obsessed with this. Like, way
How
more
long is
than
this game? I'm gonna look it up.
I was looking it up for you. I think it's like 23 to 25 hours if you do just
Yeah,
the main
50 days.
story. That's
Wow.
that's digestible, but the game is super unique. I've never played anything at all like it, and I'm excited to see what you think and if it like still holds up because I have no fucking memory of what the story is about, but I remember being obsessed with the game. So it's
I'm
gonna be
excited.
fun.
I'm playing on my Game Boy Advance. I'm gonna
I
hide
know.
under my covers and
Yeah.
just do it at
Oh,
2 in the
you're
morning.
gonna play on the game, not your DS. Like
Well, yeah, my
I
DS. I
should
mean, I
have.
don't have
I
a
think
Game Boy.
I think I have my SP somewhere, but I'll probably play on
Yeah.
my 3DS XL, my Monster Hunter, even though I've never played Monster Hunter for more than an hour.
How do you plan to do that?
What do you mean?
The Game Boy. Does the 3DS XL have a Game Boy cartridge slot in it?
So does the 3DS and the DS.
It does. Oh God, great. I don't know.
I'm pretty
It's
sure.
not a DS cartridge. It's a
No,
Game
you're
Boy.
right. You're right. The 3DS XL. I don't because they used to be on the bottom, right? Is that how it was for the DS? No.
Uh, the DS Lite has it on the bottom.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to dig through my devices and figure out.
Figure something out. You're playing this game.
I know it's 40 hours long. I'm gonna have to figure out this soon. Wait a minute.
Everyone and both people who have played Golden Sun are like cheering in their seats right now.
What? Golden Sun is like wildly popular, isn't it? Like,
No, it's not. It's like I mean, it is really loved by a small group of people. There are dozens of us.
well, I'm excited to join the ranks.
All right,
And
we watched some fire here.
we've watched some fire. We can conclude we have defeated the fire boss, as I said. Hopefully, I'll be putting out some solo pods in the coming weeks. That's one of my New Year's resolutions, just to go on not angry, actually pleasant monologues about video games and why they fucking rule and what I've been playing and what's going on in the gaming world. But
Yeah.
Peter will continue to be my review buddy.
Look out for Patrick's angry, pleasant monologues coming
Yeah,
soon.
that's really
Hit that NF like and subscribe.
yeah, that
Below.
spice that you don't get elsewhere. But until the next review, this has been fun, Peter. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to figure out how the fuck I'm gonna play this Game Boy Advance game.
Oh boy, me too. I'm ready to battle some networks or whatever. One does.
Yeah, it's you versus the internet. Good luck. But have a good rest of your night, man, and talk to you soon.
You too.